Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are looking at a behemoth of an action figure as we review the, if I can fit this under my camera, the Warhammer 40,000 Darktide Ogryn. Okay, so this thing is one of those giant mega figures from McFarlane Toys. It comes in one of those gigantic boxes. You know, the same size box that like Swamp Thing came in, or like Darktide. So this figure here, the Ogryn, is for the upcoming Warhammer video game Darktide. Alright, so one of the things I'm actually into besides, you know, comic books and video games and action figures, I'm actually into Warhammer also. I've done a handful of videos about Warhammer stuff, but for the most part, for whatever reason, it's just something I haven't really delved into in terms of my YouTube channel. But I'm a Warhammer fan, and for me to get this action figure, I'm really excited. So if you're unfamiliar with Darktide, it's an upcoming first-person shooter. The game, I think, was delayed until, I think, maybe November of this year. In the game, you take control of a handful of different inquisitorial operatives, and one of them is an Ogryn. Ogryns are kind of like the really big hulking tank characters of the Astra Militarum. They're a subspecies of abhumans, so they're like ridiculously strong and gigantic, but at the same time they could be like as dumb as a stump. But you know, if you need like, I don't know, if you need like muscle behind your like squad, you know, the Ogryns are the kind of like the way to go. So if you're unfamiliar with the Ogryn, let's talk about that real quick, because I have a feeling that, you know, a lot of you might be interested in this action figure and not really be into Warhammer. But I just want to give you a quick background on the Ogryns. Okay, so what we have here is my Warhammer 40k index for the Imperium, and there's a small little section devoted to Ogryns and Bulgryns and whatnot. Where is it? So here we go. We have the Ogryns. They hail from worlds with unusually high gravity and have evolved to compensate for the adverse conditions of their homes. Regardless of origin, each Ogryn is immensely muscular and heavy-set, weighing the best part of a ton and with the strength of a grox in its brawny frame. However, for all its might, it has very little in the way of wits. So this is kind of like a brief description. And here we have an Ogryn. And here are some of the 40k models, the miniatures. Really cool. And then if you're into the game, here's some of their stats and data sheets. And as you'll take notice, the Ogryn right here from McFarlane Toys, it comes equipped with a Ripper gun, which is actually one of the loadouts that belong to the Ogryn. Okay, so this box, like I mentioned, is gigantic. It doesn't even fit underneath my camera. You can see the Ripper gun here to the right, and the Ogryn's a gigantic mass of an action figure. Beautiful action figure photography on the side of the box, and on the back you have a full shot of them, which I think is kind of redundant because, you know, the box is a giant window to begin with, so you already see the action figure. Okay, so let's take him out and get started. If you're a big fan of like these mega-sized action figures from McFarlane, you know, like Killer Croc or Bane, I think this is something you just like. I think this Ogryn is something you'd fall in love with, even if you were unfamiliar with Warhammer. Alright, so he comes with a display base, which I don't think is going to like really hold this guy up. He's gigantic. Here's the Ripper gun. Looks beautiful. This thing is this thing is gigantic also. And let's take out our big plastic friend right here. Okay, so much like the name implies, Ogryn, this guy is really this. He's practically an ogre. If you had put it in simpler terms. This thing is heavy. I wish I had a scale to weigh this guy on because this thing is like a brick. Height-wise, let's get a quick measurement on this so you have an idea of the scale. This guy comes in at about 8 3/4. The Ripper gun by itself is also pretty gigantic, and this is about from the tip of the bayonet to the end of the handle. You're looking at a little over 5.5 inches. If you're curious about the scale next to other McFarlane Warhammer figures, let me grab one real quick. We have our Primaris Reaver in Phobos power armor, and this guy just gives you an idea of the scale. So there's a part of me that's thinking that this guy should be a little bit bigger than the Reaver, but I don't know, maybe for budget sakes. I mean, I might be wrong in that though, but I don't know. I was under the impression that these guys should be even more massive than this guy looks right here. But don't get me wrong, if once you hold these in hand, big sizable difference. This guy weighs a ton. So here you go. And also the Marines in Phobos armor, the Reavers, their power armor is actually like a slimmer build than, like an intercessor. So these guys generally are a little bit smaller. Okay, so we have our Ogryn here. Very, very impressive figure. Let's get a nice up-close shot of him. Immediately when I pulled him closer to the camera, my first thought was looking at his face. It's kind of like, it almost looks like the Kingpin, if the Kingpin was like stuck in prison for like a lifetime and got a tattoo on his head. It's a really great sculpt. As you can see, his eyes are looking straight at us. We're not getting any of that weird side eye that McFarlane Toys gave us this past year. He has the marking of the Imperium on his forehead, as you can see right there. So yeah, it looks awesome. He has tattoos on his arm. I'm assuming these are kills, probably. Nice detail on the strap and on his ribbed shirt. There we have the Aquila on the belt buckle. If you're familiar with the Warhammer paints, this almost kind of resembles like maybe like a Retributor Armor Gold. Beautiful texture on the leggings, or I mean his pants. Armor plating's nice also. Nice detail. You have like some battle damage, some scratches. Very clean application of the emblem on the hip pad. The musculature is really nice also. It's not overly vascular, you know, it's just right. You know, there's some signs of veins, but it's not like overkill. I love the attention to detail, especially on his shoulder pad here. This kind of reminds me of Man-at-Arms, especially with these giant like studs on top of it. Lots of pouches, really burly chain. Yeah, this guy is thick. It's kind of cool with his knuckles. He has like spiked knuckles. It's a little bit warped from being in the package, I guess. But that could be easily fixed. Yeah, so very impressive. Look at that. Beautiful sculpting. Great attention to detail. There's also, as I'm looking at it closely, it almost appears to be like a subtle camouflage pattern on the pants. You could kind of make out like a dark gray against the black. And there's his boots, heavy soles, thick shin guards. The Ripper gun. It doesn't feel as detailed as this guy. Like, this guy feels really, really detailed. And this almost seems like they took maybe the CG model from the actual miniature and just like upscaled it. Because I kind of feel like they could have done more with this. Like, it feels a little bit naked in terms of the detail. Like, the texture on the handle is really nice. But, you know, when you come looking around here, it's not as well done as the figure. I mean, there is some like wear and tear on the blade, but then for the rest of the weapons, kind of very clean. You know, this could probably benefit from an additional paint job and a wash. And then it kind of bothers me also that the barrel isn't hollowed out, especially for as large as it is. His fingers aren't very flexible, so this might be an issue. So I'm not going to try forcing the gun into his hand just yet. You know, for me, and I would suggest this to you also, that, you know, you don't want to try putting the gun directly into his hand cold. I would probably like heat up a mug of like hot water and then just submerge the hand in hot water until the fingers were a little bit more bendable and pliable. Then I would insert the gun, because right now these fingers, they're pretty thick and they don't have a lot of give. So as opposed, you know, you wouldn't want to break the fingers or, you know, stress them out. So yeah, I'd suggest heating up the hand first before inserting the gun. And the same goes with the other hand also. You know, so if you want to like dual grip it and have him hold it here and also at the handle, you know, just be sure to warm up the hands. So, all right, so in terms of articulation, his head rotates left and right. Does he look down? Surprisingly, he does look down. I wasn't expecting that. Does he look up? Not too much. His arms rotate. And wait, this is interesting. Okay, so the shoulder pad is actually attached with a ball joint. So there's a ball joint here, and it has some mobility. It can actually rotate, and that plugs into the upper arm, above the upper arm, and the shoulder right there. So if you want, you know, if you wanted to actually like army build this and maybe build up a squad of Ogryns, you could probably customize them where some have shoulder armor and some don't, because this removes pretty easily, as you can see right there. So you could easily just remove his shoulder pieces if you wanted to, and it's still a clean look also. You know, it seems it's still pretty appropriate. You know, maybe you could outfit a guy with you you know, one shoulder pad and have one with both, have another one without. So if you want to build up like a small squad of Ogryns and find different ways of customizing it, you know, with these removable pieces, that's an option. So yeah, these are attached with ball joints. If you removed them, you could, here's the motion, range of motion for the arms. There is no bicep cut, but they make up for that with a swivel at the elbow. And then the elbow is only single pinned. For me, I don't mind. I know some people would rather have a double pinned elbow just to give you more articulation, but for me, this is decent. You know, with a guy this bulky, I don't mind that he can only bend his arm this far. His wrists are articulated also. They can rotate, and then there's an interesting bit of articulation right there, which allows you to fold wrist in or out, and it does rotate still. So there's a cut, it looks like, beneath the breast line, and does it rotate? I'm not sure if it's meant to rotate or maybe it doesn't. Oh, okay, I take it back. There is not a cut beneath the breast line. This is just the body armor, which appears to be a separate piece that might be glued on. And I'm looking at it. Yeah, I think it's might be tabbed and glued on, so I can't see if there's a cut underneath his torso. But he does swivel at the waist. It's kind of tight, but it's there. His legs are kind of stocky and thick, so the articulation, I'm assuming, is there, but the range of motion isn't a whole lot, which is okay. You know, a guy this big isn't going to be as agile as like Spider-Man. And then to kick out, single pinned knees, again, much like the elbows, you know, it only has that one point of articulation. Articulated ankles, as you can see right there, and then toes. So this is a really beefy, bulky guy. Let's get his shoulder pads back on, if they'll get back on. I might have to do this off camera a little bit later. I think I can't seem to get the sweet spot when I'm trying to put it back in. Yeah, I'll try mounting this back on later. I think I'm having some difficulty trying to plug it back into place. And there we go. Got that one back. There we go. Got both of them. Okay, so how would I rate a guy like this on a scale of 1 to 10? For me, I'm going to say it right now. He did not disappoint me in any way. I think the amount of articulation is kind of debatable. For me, I'm not a big stickler about having like 22 points of articulation. You know, as long as the figure is posable in like, you know, a certain amount of poses, I'm happy with it. I know some people would probably prefer more articulation, like maybe a bicep cut and 2 pinned elbows and knees, but for me, this gets the job done. You know, he's kind of a tank of a character, so I don't feel he needs to be super posable. So for me, if I had to rate this guy on a scale of 1 to 10, easy 9 to 9.5. It sounds very generous, but for me, it doesn't disappoint. Being a Warhammer fan, just the idea of getting this guy blows me away. I'm a big fan of like the Ogryns and the Bulgryns. And this guy's just this guy's just awesome. It's really heavy, so I mean, you do feel like you're getting your money's worth. So yeah, easy 9 to 9.5. Beautiful, beautiful figure. Love this guy a lot. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I will see you at the next one. Alright, later.